A very warm welcome to this super lecture theatre. It's terrific, isn't it? I feel like I'm at the Oscars. It's wonderful. And to the lovely new Ulster University campus. If it's the first time you've been here, it's really pretty spectacular, isn't it? And lovely to see this space out here being used as well. As you're probably aware, it's Apprenticeship Week here in Northern Ireland, and that's exactly what we've come here to learn about tonight. Now, I have a bit of a foot in two camps here because I think it says behind me perhaps, or will at some point, or maybe it did before, that I have a doctorate, which is an honorary one, which I was delighted and very honoured to get from Ulster University. But actually, my qualifications, which by hook or by crook took me through 40-something years of broadcasting with the BBC, came from an apprenticeship. I did a couple of years at Queen's. I decided I didn't want to be a lawyer. I had to wear black all the time and it was boring. Sorry for the lawyers who are here. When I see the big houses and fancy cars that you drive, I am a bit sorry about that sometimes, but you can't have it all. So anyway, I packed that in and I went to be a journalist. They looked like they were having a much better time at that stage. And I did a training course through Thompson's, and then I was a cub reporter, which is the same thing as an apprentice. Served my indentures on the East Antrim Times in Larne. I really deserved that for packing in the law. And made my way from there through the Belfast Telegraph and Downtown Radio to the BBC, my kind of third family home. But I have never regretted for a moment the apprenticeship side of it. I still believe it is the best way to learn your job, as long as you've got the appropriate training as well. And I was very lucky that that was the case. So anyway, that's me on the apprenticeship side of things, okay? But the whole thing has moved on so much now, changed days, and degree apprenticeships are now really having their place in the sun. So that's where we are this evening. Backing from government, buy-in from both employers and university, and a queue of young and not necessarily so young people who are keen to get involved, either as the beginning of their career or perhaps as a career change. So we're going to hear from all of the above this evening, I'm glad to say. I can't remember what the programme was. Can you come on down? Points mean prizes. I can't remember. Was it that one? Maybe not. So you give a nice welcome, please, to Stacey Irvine-Herald, who's Senior HR Business Partner at Danske Bank, who's going to come and join us first. Well done. Along with Clark Barnes, Project Analyst at Danske Bank and HLA Apprenticeship Graduate. Then we have Andy McKibbin, Partner at Deloitte, and Rory McFadden, who's Senior Analyst, fourth year apprenticeship student at Deloitte. And last but absolutely not least, Darren Burrows, Founder and CEO of Funds Access. And there you are, see, perfect number of seats, all wonderfully worked out. And you've each got a microphone, so because I've got a wee one of my own. So Stacey, let's start with you, if we could, and about the Danske Futures programme. Danske have Futures programme, Deloitte's Bright Start, but there are lots of other things woven through it as well. So tell us a bit about Danske Futures.
Okay, is this working? Yeah. Okay, thank you, Wendy. We first started out on the Danske Futures programme back in 2018. So we brought that in, the apprenticeship, into our resourcing and talent management strategy at that point. What we found was the skills in the bank that we needed were perpetually changing. You know, we had changing customer habits that we needed to skill for, and we really wanted to have leaders of the future come through the apprenticeship route. So Ulster University were so good in providing what we needed. You know, we wanted a bespoke programme for Danske Bank. We wanted the apprentices to be able to work with us in our business from the very first day. And we wanted the learning at the university to really feed into business outcomes for us. So we've built a very strong relationship and partnering with Ulster University, very much based on, you know, deep valued relationship and trust and consistent communication. So that's really paid dividends. I'm nodding at my partner in crime over there, Ruth. That's paid dividends for us because we can, you know, make sure that the programme continues to adapt to our changing business needs as we work through. what we're finding is that we're trying to explore different options for, increasing the different types of apprentices that we have within the business. So we started with the Leading Customer Operations programme. We have a couple on the FinTech programme. We have some people on an IT apprenticeship now and a sustainability apprenticeship too. But we want to explore other options for perhaps branching out into postgraduate programmes as well, so that we can give our colleagues career pathway opportunity, and also that we can help to contribute to addressing the skills shortages in Northern Ireland too.
Do you think that because they're young people coming in through this slightly different route, does that create more flexibility for it obviously does from your side? And are they more flexible, if I could put it like that? Sorry, Clark, to be talking about you, but I'll come to you in a wee second.
I think that the apprentices, and Clark, you can forgive me if I am wrong here, but I think they tend to feel that we're investing in them, and I think that increases engagement and motivation to succeed and to advance their career, and which pays dividends in terms of the commitment that they have and the the hard work and ambition they put towards both the study and their work in the day job too. So I think it does create that flexibility.
So, Clark, how was it for you? Can you tell us a wee bit about your experiences as an apprentice? I mean, what was the first day like?
Very scary. As an 18-year-old baby-faced school leaver to come into the biggest bank in Northern Ireland as a customer service advisor, but it was just settled in very quickly, to be honest with you. Danske Bank and Ulster University made it so easy. Getting to know everyone, getting to meet people, and getting out to my team and my managers. Apprentice life was really, really good. As I say, I started as a customer service advisor in our contact centre. Very quickly moved into senior customer advisor, team coach. I then branched out to mortgages and then into my current role within our change management department. But it was a very steep learning curve to begin with. But the support from both the university and my Ulster University mum over there, Ruth, and my Danske Bank mum, Stacey, there, both very supportive. So steep learning curve from day one, but we got there in the end.
And hard work. I mean, you're kind of riding two horses at the same time, aren't you, in a way?
Yeah, there's a lot. And to be honest with you, whenever I started the programme, I thought you might never see me out in the evening or out at the weekends, because working full time and studying, certainly very difficult. But again, the support from the bank and the support from Ulster University, our tutors were always on standby. Danske Bank were very flexible in giving us study days, made it very easy to contact the people that we needed for our assignments in different departments. And of course, there is time management yourself. You need to ensure that you're not leaving things to the last minute and that you are organised. But whilst it was extremely difficult, it's definitely a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. And I still had a life outside. I still got out with my friends regularly. So yeah, it was good.
Gosh, I'm in awe already. Time management, not leaving anything to the last minute is everything that I never did.
11:59 deadline, 11:58 submission.
Andy, tell us a bit about Bright Start. I mean, over the last 7 years, it's welcomed over 200 apprentices, and Deloitte were in all of this very early on. Talk a bit about the programme and what motivated Deloitte to get involved in the apprenticeship space at the beginning.
No problem. I was going to ask for some mortgage advice and also time management after that. But I think for us, we were early pioneers and really seen the gap just within young people coming through, having options. I think it's the optionality that was really important, and it fitted very nicely from a Deloitte perspective with our plans to grow and massively grow the business within Belfast and within broader Northern Ireland. So it was a real opportunity to partner up with Ulster University to create those pathways and really, I think, some of the synergy of what's being talked about there, but to make sure that the learning that was coming through university could be directly applied. So our Bright Start programme now has 4 pathways of learning for people coming through, and that ranges from business technology, computer science, through to pensions, audit, and things that I just don't understand. So don't ask me any questions on those. but it just gives us great choices, and it brings a real diversity, and that was really important for us to bring a diversity into the workforce. And we see that through school leavers and the people that we engage through our Bright Start programme and our school engagement, but also those people who have maybe tried university and for whatever reason, through financial pain, maybe through too much enjoying the finer things that student life can offer, needed a different pathway to come through, and that we've been really pleased to offer that. And I suppose the biggest testament to that is we've actually taken the programme and we're doing it in the UK. So the things that we've learned through this programme and our partnership with Ulster University, we're now taking out as a programme much more broadly.
Well, that's fantastic, isn't it? So we're a bit of a beacon, really, and it's just something to follow. I mean, how has the programme developed over the last number of years to meet your business needs? I mean, obviously everything's changed quite a lot over the last 5 years or so. So how has that worked?
I think it stems really to the partnership that we have and the nature of co-curating those courses, and we've been able to evolve those courses with the business school to make sure that they really fit the needs. And as our business has grown and as people need different skills, certainly from a technology perspective, it was talked about a skills gap, and there is a skills gap. So we're trying to make sure that we address that by giving people a practical experience when they're working with clients and on projects, but also make sure that that's reflected in the learning as well, be that the languages that people use in computer science, so that it's not those that are maybe slightly outdated as they might have been in days gone past. So we've been able to really evolve that, and I suppose that then comes through the evolved pathways that we've had and how we've increased those.
That's good to hear. Rory, tell us about your experience as an apprentice. You're still an apprentice at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, just hanging in there now. I have about 6 months left, I think, just a wee bit over. So yeah, I'll be honest, at the start, it was a steep learning curve, like it was said. But once you get in on client side and you really get better in university, you can see the practicality of working them both at the same time. I believe that the stuff that we do day to day in work really does apply to university, and it makes, so I do the business and technology degree. And as a consultant, it really aligns perfectly together. I actually, before I joined Deloitte, I'd done university for a year, and trying to balance both of those. So I was working a part-time job, working 40 hours a week, trying to get some money together, and then also trying to manage university as well. But Deloitte gave me the opportunity to mix those both together whilst learning, whilst doing something that I really like, and really just getting stuck in, whilst having a mindset that business is what I want to do. So yeah, for 3 years down the line, I'm really enjoying it. I love the client facing sort of things, and it really gives you an opportunity to mix with people that you wouldn't mix with normally during university time. So I've been on a range of clients. One of my clients was actually based in Saudi Arabia, which is something that I really wouldn't get to do if I was just not doing the apprenticeship scheme. So yeah, all together, really enjoying it so far.
That business of doing something, and actually having a kind of product, if you like, as well as doing the learning. I mean, that seems to be quite an important thing that you can see that, like, okay, you're not saving lives or whatever. I don't think you are anyway, not yet. But that there is something to show for it. Is that important?
Yeah, so making sure that at the end of a deliverable, at the end of a project, that it actually has a change and an effect on someone or an effect on a huge company, because we work with some of the biggest companies in the world. We really can see the end product of that. And even the small part that I may have in that project or the larger part I may have in that project, it really does show at the end. And it makes everything worthwhile, really. It's not just a case study that you work on in university. This is real life things and this is real life experience. And you realise quickly that if you aren't focused on it, if your head isn't in it, then that client will come back on you a bit. Thankfully, I haven't had any bad experiences just as of yet. But yeah, it's good to see the practical side of things and make it real life, and you're actually involved in doing something real that makes a difference.
Terrific. Darren, tell us about your experience now. You're founder and CEO of Funds Access, and that's in Weaver's Court, isn't it? Down,
it is, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, behind the old tobacco factory. I mean, these are two really big companies. Yours is a much newer company. So tell us about the attraction of apprenticeships to you.
Wow. So we're not a Danske and we're not a Deloitte. We're a 70-person company, about 30 in Belfast and about 40 in India. We are small. We've got some very big clients across the world. The apprentices was something that always made a lot of sense to me. So as founder and CEO, I was always convinced about the apprentice model, probably to the extent that I appreciate it's got a big role across the spectrum of getting people into the workforce, but particularly in a situation where you've got a labour shortage and trying to create pathways and everything else into fintech and stuff, it makes sense to me that actually the very best of the candidates should be able to go out and actually to get paid for their labour whilst they're doing their degree as well. So to me it seems it's something that the very best candidates should be able to go out and actually apply for and do. So that was our starting mindset of apprentices. Our big concern was really about whether we could do it as a small company, whether we could actually support apprentices coming in and provide them with the right HR support and infrastructure, and just work through all the practicalities and be fair to apprentices as well in terms of giving them a rewarding experience. So that was our challenge, and also whether we could, frankly, compete with the Allstates and the Danskes and Deloittes in terms of being an attractive employer for an apprentice to apply to. We're now up to 6 apprentices. The first year that we tried, we actually didn't get any apprentices. I think our mindset at the time was very much dip our toe in the water. Let's see if somebody really good comes along. We probably expected it to be sort of mid-20s and somebody returning to education, and I think we didn't get our proposition right, for example, and we didn't actually get an apprentice that year. The following year we got 2 exceptional apprentices and we were delighted with them, and then last year we wanted to take on another 2 and we got 2 and we were very happy with them, and then a third one came along for an interview and was brilliant. We said, yep, we're definitely going to take the third one, and then a fourth one came along who was brilliant as well, and so we ended up with 6. And the one thing I would say, and I think we've been exceptionally lucky in that 6 out of 6 absolutely brilliant apprentices. I'm sure we're due for a couple of difficult experiences along the line. We haven't had that yet. Our experience with them has been so good, and they are absolutely brilliant, that we will, if we can get 6 this year, we will do that. And I would expect in sort of 4 years' time that we would be up to probably 24 apprentices, all going through a more structured sort of 4-year program. So dipping our toe in the water, getting the first year over the line was really important to us. And now we can really make it part of our culture and proper HR framework for growing our talent for the future.
So what do they bring to your business, these 6 apprentices? I mean, what's the magic thing that they bring that other people who work with you, they're coming from a kind of different place, if you like?
The 6 that we've got are, as I said, I think we're very lucky. I think they're all absolutely great. And I think the fact that certainly most of them are very top performers in their A-levels, for example. They positively made a choice that they wanted to do something different. And I think that, in terms of a mindset approach, actually told us a lot about what we were going to get out of them. They've come along, they've been curious, they've been looking to get involved. They've really, especially coming back into the office as a small business post-COVID as well. I think they bring a lot culturally to the business, and they really bring a lot in that regard. But we're a small company. We're giving them great opportunities and experience working with some of the biggest banks in the world and lots of exciting things. That's now, if I look towards our business for the future and the next 4 years, in 4 years' time, all this fintech stuff's going to be talking about things like NFTs and metaverse and crypto and all those things that I'm not going to spend my time learning about. All those guys who are 14 and 15 now, this is all going to be second nature to them in the future. So actually, I do think in 4 or 5 years' time, it is going to be the 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are going to be the smartest people in the room in many ways for our business. So, getting the apprenticeship program going now gets us lined up with that talent pool for the future.
It's very interesting that I'm just looking at the faces of our panel. Rory and Clark have got that. Yeah, he's right. Look on their faces,
and they know the right.
And the rest of us are in. Yeah, he's right. Which is a slightly different ball game. But I mean, Stacey, I remember having a conversation with an employer on one occasion who was saying that one of his favourite days of the week was the day after the apprentices had been to uni, because then they came back with all of these things that they learned, or maybe something which had occurred to them over the weekend or whatever, that was a solution to a problem that they'd been dealing with the previous week. I mean, that kind of tidal flow, if you like. I'm waxing lyrical here, but does that make a difference? Because normally you wouldn't have had that, would you? People kind of coming in, having been off learning something one day a week.
Well, if we think about the types of roles that the apprentices are working in, people who aren't apprentices in those roles wouldn't have that external focus to bring back. And, it's real sharing of learning within the teams. And I think that spreads, through the organisation, that we're collectively benefiting from, an increase in organisational knowledge through our apprentices. So it's bringing that external focus, bringing that sort of academic theory to what they're doing and applying that in their job. And then that breeds between the team members and colleagues that they're working alongside. That what we find as well is that through the apprentices that have embarked on the programme, the school leavers, the first couple of cohorts that came through, we're finding that we get more and more of our existing colleagues who want to take up this opportunity as well. So, we have a lot of people who are retraining and reskilling within the bank because they've seen, the benefits that the apprentices that we've brought in initially have brought to the business. So,
well, that's terrific, isn't it? And Clark, whenever do you find that there's a bit of that sort of toing and froing as well? That when you go to uni on a Friday or whatever day of the week it is, that there maybe are aspects of what you've been dealing with in your job that you realise or can talk about being applicable to what it is that you're learning about in the academic situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, initially, whenever we got started, one of our first few modules was about settling into new teams and then also about customer experience. And suddenly I was coming in and understanding our customer experience model that the bank had taught us from day one. And then I was really grasping it and what the academic background behind that model is. There's two sides really to the overlap, I find, because there is the academic side and what you're learning, but also the skills that it's given you. So something as simple as presentation skills. I mean, our uni assignments don't stop at submission with university. Our senior leaders, our executive committee, our managers, our colleagues, they're all excited to hear what our projects are about, what our assignments are about. And also then a lot of them's taken on board. So we've had a lot of our projects implemented as a business solution that have stemmed from this. So to me, the overlap is there both in terms of the knowledge, but then the benefit to the business and the skills that we've got and learnt from our exposure has really helped me. And confidence is a big thing. I mean, whenever I took up the team coach role in our contact centre, I was responsible for 15 members of staff as a 20-year-old who had never looked after anyone in my life. My mum still done my washing at the time. But I was able to draw upon the leadership skills that I had learnt in my leadership modules and really hit the ground running with the role rather than needing to learn all that and deal with 15 members of staff. So, yeah, definitely a big overlap in a number of ways that maybe wasn't thought of at the start. You thought it was just the academic piece, but it's the skills that come with the academics as well.
And that's fascinating. I mean, Andy, the programme, as you say, has developed over recent years, a Bright Start programme. But that whole business, what Clark and Stacey are talking about there, I'm assuming happens in Deloitte as well. And that's a bonus. I wonder, is it one that was anticipated at the start, or is it one that your company has realised has a really beneficial effect as it works through?
Well, I'd like to say that the foresight was there, but I suppose the hope was there rather than necessarily the expectation. But I think what you probably get from the panel and particularly from the younger people on the panel, as you pointed out, was just the enthusiasm that comes with that. And it's the innovation, the fresh thinking that comes, that sometimes when you're not taking yourself out of the situation and you're working with a customer or on a project and you're deep in the detail, sometimes you don't necessarily see those potential solutions. So I think the academia and the enthusiasm and the fresh ideas that come through the exuberance of youth, as well as the learning, really has a beneficial play on it. And I think it just brings a broader set of views into how we work. And we work very much as blended teams. You know, when you're on a project and you're in a project, you're a valued member of the team. It doesn't matter whether it's your first day or it's your 10th year. So we embrace that. So it's been really beneficial and useful for us, and share a lot of the learnings that the folks have mentioned for Deloitte as well.
Well, that's good to hear. And Rory, I mean, when you're in that kind of blended team situation, I mean, I know when I was still working in the Beeb, I was always very grateful that the young people who were around me were kind enough to shepherd me through some of the vicissitudes of the technology systems and so on that we had to work with. I mean, there must be people that you work with who just have a different attitude to all of the stuff that we use now. Can you help them a bit? You know, do they look to you as your man there knows how to do this?
Yeah, definitely. You can kind of tell when you're about the office, they would look for a fresher face sometimes. But yeah, no. Inside our community, inside Deloitte, there would be, I think in my year there's 50, so there's 7 years. So you can imagine that there is quite a few fresh faces around the office, and especially in our Belfast team. And saying fresher faces, it's sometimes not typically as true, because once you've done the graduate scheme or the apprenticeship scheme, you shoot up the ranks quite quickly. So you do learn on the job, and you do have all these ideas, and people do really consider you to be a key member of the team. And the camaraderie inside Deloitte is very strong when you're talking to people, and people really appreciate that the ideas that you have aren't just fresh ideas. There's method behind that, there's client experience behind that, there's also fresh out of university like that. So as you mentioned, us getting a break on a Friday, well, not a break, but a different set of eyes on something separate. It's really good to come back in on a Monday and take what you've learned, or even that break that you've had, to maybe think about what's happened during the week, and come in on Monday, bring forward these ideas, and make sure that you're there to help out.
Does it give you a bit of a leg up? I wonder, you know, if you're coming in with different ideas and so on, have you got a better chance of getting your ideas listened to at a higher level than somebody else might have who wasn't in the apprenticeship scheme? I'm just wondering if the answer is no, that's fine. But
maybe not all the time. But I would say that as you've had this focus from such a young age, they do appreciate that that's been your drive. So if you can imagine, someone would come in, maybe say someone's done, I don't know, something random like a physics or a biology degree. They've obviously looked at something a bit different, but for me, in my experience, I've been in the business now for 3.5 years, and I feel like the experience that I have is definitely taken into consideration, and that the way I think is now business focused, and they can rely on me for the decisions that I make and the ideas that I have, because I have both client experience and as well as using the university and whatever Ulster has taught me during the years, in a practical sense, to help out the team.
Good. I mean, I just wondered, because I always remember Jackie Henry, your kind of senior partner, she tells a great story about the fact that the best thing that ever happened to her, and she was furious about it, was that the tea lady went on holiday, and because she was the girl in the office, she had to take the tea trolley. And she, I mean, well, if you know Jackie Henry, you know how thrilled she was by that. But actually, she said it was the best thing because she met everybody. And, you know, everybody from the boss down knew exactly who she was from there on in. And good for her. She put that to the best use. But nowadays, she'd have been an apprentice, and she wouldn't have had to dish out the teas by the sound of it. But anyway, I don't think she got paid any extra for it either. So, Darren, I mean, the BSc Financial Technology programme is one that you're kind of most involved in, I think, isn't it? So what kind of skills and talent is that allowing you to attract? And when you say that you've got 6 apprentices now and you're now really enthusiastic and going for some more, so who are you looking for the next time round?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It was difficult to convince some of our colleagues at first about bringing apprentices in and the challenges we would face. It's gone really well, and because it's gone so well, actually, across the business, the teams are looking at that model and saying, how can we have 2 or 3 apprentices or 6 apprentices, whatever it may be. So actually, there's quite a lot of demand across the business for us pushing this model if we can actually get attract the candidates to come in. And that means that whilst the course is great, and I think the course is great and gives I think not just the content of the course, but the foundation and anchor that gives the team to come on a Friday to the course, I think's great for them. We would be more than happy to look well beyond, and when we talk about fintech, I mean, it's not just about finance or technology. It's about a whole range of things there in terms of business development and relationships and customer service and support and all those sort of things that we would more than happily look to other courses as well as we look to extend our investment into the apprentices. So yeah, the course is great. Would equally and we'll love to get more apprentices on the course. But we would also look beyond that as well to other courses and go from there.
Well, that's very interesting indeed. So look, that's about it from us for this evening. Big thanks again to Stacey, to Clark, to Andy, to Rory and Darren, our stars of the evening, and good luck with the rest of your apprenticeship journey. Rory, not too far to go now. So thanks very much indeed again to them. Thanks to Gillian, to Karen and to Abby as well. And big thanks to all of you for coming along this evening. And if you do have any more questions or wish to follow this up, don't leave here without asking somebody, okay? I mean, you might as well, they're here. So use the opportunity, have a word, or if you're in a mad dash, make sure that you have a look online. Thanks again for being here. Nice to meet you.